This training program shall pave the path for all the participants to develop the insight for entrepreneurship in AEC domain and empower them with a winning attitude. The program has been structured with 5 sessions, each being taken by eminent experts from the industry. The speaker for session 1, Mr. Vihari Vemuri, is an architect by education and a pass out from MNIT Bhopal. He has also pursued digital marketing from Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies and has been a part of great organization called WeConstruct in Pune, India. Although he's an architect, his profession journey has been around business development and client relations from Central Region, USA. I would now like to invite Dr. Navneet Munot, Honorary Director, COA, Training and Research Center, Bhopal, to give his welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar. On the behalf of COA-TRC Bhopal, I, Dr. Navneet Punot, Honorary Director, COA-TRC Bhopal, welcome all the participants and experts for this national online training program for students, academicians, and practicing architect, engineers on entrepreneurship in AE sector. The architecture, engineering, and construction industry comprises of separate players who work together to bring a project to fruition. By integrating these seemingly separate entities into a single industry, the architects, engineers, and contractors can work more efficiently to achieve a common goal. The AEC industry has several practical applications that facilitate the technology outsourcing and exchange of information within the industry. It is a sector which is very active in the adoption of information, communication, and technology. Due to continuous urbanization, upcoming infrastructure projects, and a growing population base, the construction industry in India is booming with huge ongoing projects opportunities. This serves as the third largest contributor to our country's economic growth. Moreover, the industry employs more than 40 million people and also have a large pool of low-cost workers. Besides all these, various governmental flagship programs like Smart Cities Mission, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Make in India, and Atal Mission for Urban Rejuvenation and Transformation will further drive growth in this sector. Owing to these efforts, as well as the government's will to increase public-private partnership with various foreign companies, this sector is expected to attract more foreign investment that opens the door of excellent opportunity to explore and work upon in the construction sector. As per the present scenario, a number of institutes graduates students as qualified architects, engineers, and some of these newly graduate architects, engineers also start their professional practice and want to be an entrepreneur, but they possess less insights about the AEC sector. So, to introduce the budding architects, engineers about the diverse opportunities, establishing framework, regulatory and finance issues, brand value and value creation, and competitive sustainability in entrepreneurship. The COA New Delhi has initiated the program to train all architects in this regard from across the country. As a result of similar concern, the COA New Delhi has decided to open up its academic and research wing through the establishment of COA TRC at 5 zones in India, with Bhopal being one of its center. Through these TRC Bhopal, the COA New Delhi is organizing various events intending to update all the students, academicians, and architects on the latest trends and paradigms taking place at national and international level in the architecture fraternity. I am honored to announce that the TRC Bhopal has completed more than 2.5 years of its establishment and has successfully organized many events in these last 2.5 years, in which more than 8,000 students academicians, and practicing architects have got benefited. As per the feedbacks received from the participants, the enriching knowledge and skill sets they have gained from these events and programs have been of immense help to them for their extending the horizon of their personal and professional growth. We also invite all COA registered institutes to collaborate with the TRC Bhopal for organizing short-term training program, teacher training program, faculty development program on a national level. Such initiatives will further allow the exchange of intellect among the members of the fraternity, as well as provide a platform of interaction with each other. Once again, I welcome all the participants and experts who will be the part of this training program. My best wishes to organizing team for the success of this 2 days event. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sir. I would now like to invite Dr. Devendra Pratap Singh, Dean Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Design at Amity University, Noida, to enlighten on the theme of session one and welcome the speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Prerna, uh, and thank you, Council of Architecture, for providing this opportunity to Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Noida, to organize this training program, 2 days training program. And I would like to thank all the speakers, participants, without whom this program would never make would have never started or would have never took that shape which is required in an academic environment. So how we have thought of this program was the initial idea that was to increase the efficiency of our present skill set, which we have already acquired as an architect, how we can increase the efficiency in different domains and in our present domains. And the second was to how to increase the scope of our learnings from conventional areas to the upcoming areas. So when we think of entrepreneurship, we see that it is categorized mostly into four areas, that is small businesses, scalable startups, maybe the large companies when we talk of AEC sector, and social entrepreneurship. So what we find is that many a times we are not able to find the links between all these areas. This is also one of the ideas of this workshop. Uh, when we talk of entrepreneurship at the institution level, the one of the main focus is that how our students will get employed, and already the practicing architects who can find the new areas. So one thing which is commonly said uh, for entrepreneurship is, when you start thinking in this area that you will have your own business, is that when you aim for sun in the worst to worst situation, when you think that there is a failure, you land up on moon. So that way, the fear of starting new businesses is actually, it has to be removed, because most of the participants and the people in our area are from the idea generation. So ideas, they keep implementing on the design part, but not on the business cycle or the sustainable business cycle of our own domain. So the idea is that uh, uh, there is a capital engine in motion, and we have to be part of it. And the key lies in actually finding the new customers, be the part of the new product cycle, and most importantly, the emerging markets. So in last 1.5 years or maybe 2 years or so, we have seen lots of changes in these markets. So this program we have like thought of and designed in such a way that it can at least help us in our thoughts to instigate, and we can really find new areas where we can work in. So in today's session, I could find that architect Vihari Vemuri is there from We Construct. I welcome you, architect Vihari, for joining us. It's really a privilege that you will be part of this of one of the sessions on day one. And I would also like to welcome Ms. Deepshikha Kumar Anand from Speak In. I'm not sure whether she has joined it not, but in her absence also we would like to welcome her. And tomorrow the sessions will be taken by Dr. Anil Lamba. He's a best-selling author and financial expert. Then we have architect Badrinath Kilaru, who's the principal architect from Studio Arted. He will talk about brand and value creation in the AEC sector, which is very important part of like establishing the links between your present skill set and the marketing domain. Then we have architect Nandini Somaya Sampath. She will talk about the competitive sustainability. So, as far as I know, through my own studies and experience, that every firm has to go through a bell curve. So, there is like a starting point, there is a peak, and over the period of, like, say, if we say the practice time of a principal architect, let's say it's like 40 to 45 years. So around like after 30 years or so, that practice starts going if you go through all the firms across the globe. So the idea is that how to bring down that, or how to stretch that bell curve to the level that it becomes of 100, 200, and 300 years, whether we are there on this globe or not. But that bell curve should be stretched in a way that company should keep going. The show must go on whether we are there or not, and it's the legacy which remains with the company. So for that matter, we need to actually establish all the links between the uh, uh, business aspects of entrepreneurship. And since we come from this field of AEC, so our focus in this program is about AEC. So thank you so much for listening me. Once again, I would like to thanks Council of Architecture and all the guest speakers. At the same time, in the last, I would like to thank our founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan, our vice chancellor, Dr. Balvinder Shukla, who had always given us a free hand in deciding on how we need to take this program of architecture, planning, design ahead in our school. That freedom actually nurtures that where ideas can actually take the shape as per the context. So thank you so much, and best wishes for this program. And I hope that at the end of the second day, we will definitely achieve something out of it. So thank you so much, and over to you, Prerna. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words. I would now like to request Architect Vihari Vemuri to please start with his session. And I would also request all the participants to please post your questions in the chat, and we'll take up a few of them towards the end of the session. Over to you, sir.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. I wish we met in person, and it's okay, we can use this platform to get connected. Thank you, Devendra sir, for giving this opportunity, and thank you, Navneet sir and Prerna, for inviting me as a speaker to this much needed training program of the hour. about entrepreneurship during this pandemic, where many are struggling to find jobs. We need more people like you to get to a position where we give jobs and livelihood to others. As Devendra mentioned and Prerna mentioned, I am an architect by my education background, and later I did pursue digital marketing to up my skill. But I still feel deciding that I want to pursue architecture after my 12th grade is the first conscious decision I made to myself as an entrepreneur. All of us either have education background in AEC or passionate of leaving a footprint in contributing to AEC sector. I think infrastructure and real estate is never ending. We have come a long way and there is a lot more to achieve. I'm not the Shah Rukh Khan or Badshah of AEC industry, but I consider myself as an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur who is fortunate enough to get a platform like WeConstruct where I join hands with great people in their entrepreneurial journey to bring change in construction industry through technology. Having said that, let's not waste more time and jump in our first session of the day, diverse opportunities for entrepreneurs in AEC sector. So before we start the session, the ground rules. It is a safe zone. We don't have any ranks in the rooms. We encourage everyone to participate and let's not dominate. Help us be on track and listen as an ally. Feel free to share your feedback and actively agree on only if it makes sense to do. And definitely, last but not least, enjoy the session, have fun. So as this is virtual, there are two requests. Limit distraction and stay engaged. Keep your mobile phones away and use the chat box to as a virtual parking lot to record any topic for future discussion. Just to break the ice and assuming that we have students who are willing to be entrepreneurs once they complete graduation, we just go over the basics of entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. So entrepreneur is a person who is willing to take risk, take decisions, and provide products. And entrepreneurship is setting up a just a second. Entrepreneurship refers to starting a new enterprise and operating it. So you need to set up the process and take up the risk, financially difficulties and challenges. The intention is to make profit and bring change to the society. So coming to today's agenda points, first one we'll discuss is pieces of entrepreneurship. Then we'll move on to innovative opportunities, types of entrepreneurship, which Devendra sir has very well covered, and entrepreneurial diversity, ways to expand the empire. And finally, we'll close with the case study of WeConstruct that connects all the dots. Starting with the pieces of entrepreneurship, the heart of an entrepreneur has three pieces to it that they need to be is everything. They should not leave any card unfold. So the first one is opportunity recognition. Everyone knows that A plus B equal to C today, but entrepreneur really thinks of what if A plus B equal to D tomorrow? How do we need to support that and how we leverage that as an opportunity? So opportunity recognition is the first step of being an entrepreneur. You need to identify the gap, understand where you can add value or bring change to the society, what people want. Then the second one is opportunity assessment. This is where you come up with a business model, potential strategies around it, the sales and marketing approach. And the third piece of entrepreneurship is opportunity recognition. So the first two phases are on paper, nothing is in reality, but the third one is the most important and challenging phase. It is you need to get it done. So that is on ground. Now getting into each piece of entrepreneurship into detail. So this is the most creative side of the brain where you think what's next. Every day you need to think what's next. And opportunity recognition is not something a one-time thing. It goes throughout your entrepreneurial journey. It never stops. If we take example of prefab, so AEC industry is a huge um, topic to discuss. So if we focus on prefab as an example of entrepreneurship, because it is currently booming and it is the future. As we see A plus B equal to C, and A plus B equal to D tomorrow. So D is the prefab and C is what used to be the traditional approach of panels, bathrooms, everything. So if we talk about prefab, there might be someone decades ago who felt the need of shaping the construction methods through prefabrication. But at that time, that was a dream. It was on paper, and later it turned into reality. So when that person got the dream, he must have assessed it, understand the reasons of why he want to fill that gap. So definitely, there is limitations for construction. There is a certain schedule that you need to follow, but to enhance that schedule, prefab definitely plays a great role. And for any business model, you need to assess the potential strategies, business model. And also, when we talk about business model and potential strategies, that are definitely to fill an idea, but is that idea really worth it? That is something we need to think 1,000 times. And we also need to think of ways the idea can stick to people or the consumers. For example, if we say Great Wall of China, it can be seen from the outer space. This was a myth that goes around from a long time, but it was tried to suppress but never was successful. So the reality is we can't see Great Wall of China from the space, but still people believe it because people trust and they got connected to it. It is unexpected and we need to tell a story. Whatever story that we are saying that need to stick with the people. So that's how the idea need to be valuable and problem solving. Coming to the realization phase, the time to take advantage of the situation and execute all great ideas. So this is the ground phase where you start implementing your ideas in and convert them into reality and make profit out of it. This is a phase where you implement all the sales and marketing strategy that you planned on paper. And if we see opportunity realization as an important phase, because if we talk about a technical research paper that we worked on, unless it gets published, there's no value of keeping it in your laptop or a hard drive, right? So this is a realization phase where you need to get things implemented and turn it into reality. So there is a great book called Getting More, How to Negotiate to Achieve Your Goals in the Real World. Please have a look in your free time. Now moving on to the innovative opportunity. As we mentioned, we'll more talk about prefab to understand the entrepreneurial journey and entrepreneurship in AEC sector. So the incongruity, this is where the discrepancy between what is and what it should be. So if we take example of Facebook, Facebook definitely have data centers, offices across the globe, but they found that the construction management platforms, for example, CMIC and other platforms that we use for construction, they are outdated and they can't fulfill the needs of Facebook. So they acquired Procore, a construction management platform, and made all the alterations that they want to have in a construction platform. So that is how you identify the gap or need and try to make business out of it. They use it for their own construction and also other companies use it for construction management process as well. And the second one is the unexpected. Definitely we need to keep tabs on what is going on in the market. Back at 2 decades ago or a decade ago when prefab was in rising, many of them have started their ventures and expanded their existing business into prefab. Many general contractors realized that instead of getting on a ground executed things, they can get things prefab. And if they have their own extended wing for prefab, they can even cut the margins low. So it is always to understand what is going on in the market and try to get success out of it. The third one is the process need. So even if you're an entrepreneur, you have your large company, there are definitely gaps that if you fill them, that will enhance your business. So you need to identify those opportunities. If there is a prefab company that is manufacturing panels and if they think that they are doing good, then definitely there is a scope for improvement. They could have went with a mobile application that fits in the basic schedule and manufacture the panels as per the daily requirement. Everything can be done remotely these days. So these kind of process needs, understanding how they can enhance the current conditions of their existing business that falls under the process need. The industry and market. Definitely, before getting into the setup stage of your business, you need to look out for the regulations and product line expansions. So, as we are talking about prefab, for example, if prefab in a particular city, it is not allowed to have residential projects under prefab and they are only allowing commercial. So, you need to understand the regulations of that particular city before expanding your line into residential. And another example can be a completely offbeat example, but many of you have heard of and you are using canvas shoes. So they are manufactured outside India, but when they are imported to India, they don't pay the tax of a shoe because they understand the regulation of what is called as a shoe, and they take the extra step to convert their sole as a flip flop and or a sandal. So that's how they import the canvas shoes as a flip flop into India to reduce the taxes. So these are the different methods to understand the regulations and try to use it for your benefit. The fifth one, the demographic changes, combining the demographic data. So you need to understand the target audience on who you are targeting. There is a prefab company called SurePods that manufactures prefab bathroom and they deliver it across the globe. But what they do is they allow you to design as per your interest and also as per your demographic conditions. So that is how they are doing the target audience. They are not saying that the way they do in US, there is a standard way and that need to be the way across the globe. So they are not restricting themselves. They are being flexible as per the target audience. The change in perception. So 20 years back, if anyone says that a bathroom can be prefabricated in factory and directly uh, implemented on site or assembled on site, so many might not encourage that, but that is a trend today. In US, if we go with the 500 key hotel or a 1,000 key hotel, they just have around 500 bathrooms or 1,000 bathrooms getting manufactured in factories and directly getting assembled on site. Another example that we see when we talk about change in perception is the pandemic has taught us to work from home, and it also taught us that even schooling can be done remotely, virtually. So that is a change in perception. Before pandemic, many of us have not accepted that schooling can't be done virtually. We need to sit in the classroom, listen to the teacher, but things are changing. People change. So we need to be aware as entrepreneurs, we need to be aware of what is coming up next rather than what is going on currently. We need to be futuristic. Talking about types of entrepreneurship, first one is a small business. So many of you have seen business that are limited to your city. Though you like it, you enjoy going to that restaurant or a pub, you don't see that in other cities or not globally. So those are the small business. They target a small area. They don't want to expand and they're good with the profits that they earn. The next one is a large company. So when we hear large company, after just hearing small business, we always think that it is a MNC, but definitely not. For example, if we are working in a MNC and if we have an idea, if we identify a gap in the existing AEC market and we go to our general contractor and pitch that idea, so we extend a branch or a lane to the existing company and start a new venture. So that is a large company entrepreneurship. The third one is a scalable startup. So these are the most common Oyo, Swiggy, Zomato. So all these are like the scalable startups. They start from a city, explode to at a national level, and then go global. So these are the most dynamic business models these days. And the fourth one is social entrepreneurship. So the people who focus on problems in their community and further social change. So they use internet as their medium to voice their thoughts. So those are called the social entrepreneurs. We'll get into the details of each type of entrepreneurship in our next slides. First one, the small business. As we discussed, it is probably in the locality or a single product. While these are not funded by venture capitalists, they are mainly funded by themselves or go to bank for loans. They don't believe in expanding their business beyond a certain locality or beyond a single store. Their initial goal is to make profits, and they don't decide to have it at multiple locations. And they are motivated to affect the social change. Then the second one, the scalable startup. So definitely innovative products or services. These are some of the goals of a scalable startup. The product or a service that they offer, that is a backbone of their business. Without that, they can't establish themselves. And a strong marketing and the sales strategy, the one that we discussed in the beginning, it should stick to the mind of audience. The venture capitals funding. So there are different ways of getting a fund and expanding your empire that we'll see in the next topic, but definitely for a scalable startup, they look for funding. The rapid operational growth, talented staff, and the return on investment. So the difference between a scalable startup and a small business is when there is a profit for scalable startup, they fuel it back to the business and try to expand it. And in a small business, they're just looking for the profit. They don't want to fuel it back to the business and expand to other regions. Then the social entrepreneurship. So the four main things that social entrepreneurship rotates around is environmental sustainability, gender, racial equality, healthy living, community improvement. So if we take prefab, a social entrepreneur will talk about the benefits of prefab on construction industry and on environment. So may it be the pollution that it reduces, or the time that it saves, or the money that it saves. So social entrepreneurs share their voice on media platforms, on internet platforms, to bring change, to bring awareness. So that is a role of a social entrepreneur, and they are mainly funded through support, sponsorships, small donors, fundraising events, etc. They are similar to the NGOs that we see these days. Coming to large company entrepreneurship, existing business needs, this may include a new product line or a division. Look out for branches, acquisition of new companies and resources. So as I mentioned, Facebook has acquired Procore, a construction management platform, to enhance the construction methodologies the way they like. So that is one of the large company entrepreneurship ideas, to acquire existing companies. We'll talk about large company entrepreneurs further in our case study. Talking about entrepreneurial diversity, the most important thing in an entrepreneurial journey is having diversified network. Your network should not look like a same monotonous set of people who are from your same background and same ideology. They should be people countering your or challenging your ideas, and are your competitors as well. You need to weave in the diversity within your fabric of the business. You need, when we say diversity, it might be ethnic diversity or gender diversity, or even age group. So you need to have all sorts of people in your organization to bring that flavor. Coming to ways to expand empire. So the first one is invest in multiple business. Even if you're starting to get into entrepreneurial business, you should not get into a single venture and just stick to it throughout your life and struggle for it. You need to keep open tabs for different ideas, start different ventures at the same time. You never know which one clicks at a certain point of time and take off from there. So you need to invest in multiple business. Angel investors, so they are different from the venture capitalists. They are majorly funding your scalable startups or business. They have less strings attached when it comes to venture capitalists, and also they are the most common ones these days who fund more money into your business that helps to expand at multiple locations. Third one is a crowdfunding. So there are websites. One of the example is Kickstarter. So where you pitch your idea and people like us, they watch it. If they like it, they start funding it. So these are the crowdfunding websites. You always don't need to look out for a bank for a loan or a venture capitalist or angel investor. You can also look for crowdfunding. Everything depends on your idea, how much people want your idea to get implemented. Then the startup incubators, these are different from the venture capitalists and angel investors. They really don't fund with money, but they provide you all the resources that you need to kickstart your journey. Then the quality content at the recognition or the realization phase, you need to have good marketing and sales strategy. And definitely that should be a sticking idea. The social power of internet, these days we can do anything on internet. We have a huge platform, a limitless platform that we can leverage to spread our word and create a culture around our brand. So this is one of the way to expand our business. Foreign markets, in AEC industry, we are very well aware of outsourcing or importing different materials for construction, or even how to build projects right from sitting at your home. So foreign markets is a huge market for AEC, and we should not restrict within India, within our locality. Coming to the case study, WeConstruct, this is very close to my heart because I've been part of WeConstruct over 5 years and I've been part of the entrepreneurial journey of WeConstruct. So WeConstruct, it's a subsidiary of DPR, a MNC, and a huge general contractor in US. So two people, Saurabh and Durga, when they were working in DPR, they had this idea of starting a BIM company in India, the virtual design and construction workflows company. So that's where they pitched it to the management committee of DPR, and they liked it. They funded for the initial setup. This started in 2013 with two people along with a 3 members team. They were financially sufficient. They were getting good work for BIM and VDC workflows. In 2014, they expanded to multiple regions of USA. But that is not it. We should not stop out there. So opportunity realization is definitely the key to success of any business. We need to recognize different opportunities throughout our entrepreneurial journey. So the circles that you see right now are the opportunity recognitions or the realizations. So they were recognized, but it takes some time to realize them or implement them. So maybe starting as a VDC company, then scaling up to project controls management or accounting support for projects, software solutions, data science and analytics. So getting into different branches of AEC industry through technology. So that is something we say as opportunity realization. We are not restricting ourselves to virtual design and construction. We are now way more than that. We have grown beyond that. And you can see that it is not done overnight. 2013, 15, 16, 17, 19. So it keeps on growing. The next one is business fabric. So once you set up a company, the next one you need to look out for is how to make it sustainable. So you need to have core values, you need to have purpose, a brand, you need to have mission, work culture, and mission statement. So as you can see, they are not figured out right at day one of 2013. They are the journey is a growth. We need to learn every day. And the next one is a process need. So as we are growing from a 2-member company to a 357-member company, we always look out for the process needs, the areas that we need to improve. So in 2018, we have set up a team of integration managers, and we moved to special economic zone to save taxes on the work we do. And in 2020, our main strategy was to have business continuity during the pandemic, because that is completely new for everyone. We are now located at 80 different cities, working remotely for projects in US. So that is how the strategy is, and that is how flexible people are these days. And the third one is we construct USA, so setting up a new entity in US for global tax benefits. So these are the process needs that you identify during your journey and try to improve and enhance the existing uh, company, along with looking out for new opportunities. So, having said this, what it takes to be a resilient, long lasting company, there are three factors to it. One is who we are, what drives us, and what sustains us. When it is who we are, it is the core values, what represents us, and what we believe in, what is our work culture. What drives us, it is a vision, the purpose, and our brand. Those are the three that drives us, and what sustains us, definitely the profitability. We can't grow from a two-member company to a 350-member company without having profits each year. We need to also sustain through profitability. So these are the three areas that help us to be a resilient, long-lasting company. That's it. End of the session. Now we are open for discussion and comments, questions.
The participants, I can see one question there, sir. One of the participant has asked that, can you expand a bit more about angel investor?
So angel investors, there are entrepreneurs summits going on at different places, and also if I am a company CEO, I might be an angel investor. I might look out for young budding entrepreneurs who have ideas, and I can fund them to grow their business. Even Tesla, it was not started by Elon Musk. He funded it and became the chairman of Tesla. The idea was by different people, and they started it differently. So angel investors, they are there to fund your idea. It is just like bank do fund business, but if you say you are going to start a scalable tea stall that you are planning across India. So I'm not sure how many banks are open to fund you, but angel investors are open for those kind of ideas. If you have an idea that you can bring change in the existing AEC sector, you can reach out to angel investors or any crowdfunding websites.
I hope the participant has received the answer. Moving on to the next question. It says that, can you expand a little more on BIM in India and the scope of the same in India in today's context?
So BIM in India, it is when we say, are we having the workforce who are aware of BIM techniques, methodologies, and different level of details? Definitely yes. But are we implementing them with a full force in Indian projects? Then definitely no. Majority of the BIM companies in India are outsourcing companies. But as I mentioned, large companies do extend their branches towards BIM. So we have BIM in L&T or Shapoorji Pallonji or Turner. So we have BIM departments in all the large companies. But the level of detail that they go through when they call BIM is different. For example, in Singapore, BIM is a mandatory in their bylaws, but the LOD is different. They don't expect you to do complete 4D synchro or clash detections or uh, the 5D in BIM. The main basic expectation is you need to have a model in Revit or any 3D model. So we can see BIM more in future implementing in India and not just outsourcing. So we are looking for that day.
Okay, I hope you have received. Yeah. So thank you for that answer, sir. Any more questions, please, from the participants? Any more questions from anyone?
Prerna, can I have one question?
Yes, sir. Sure, please.
Okay. Just one question, Vimuri, that during your journey at VConstruct, definitely there must be some kind of like barriers you must have faced, or like some kind of case studies where you are able to solve such barriers or overcome these barriers. Can you share anything realistic like that so that the participants can actually have a real feel of uh, such things in entrepreneurship journey?
Uh, sure, sir. So talking about a real barrier, I would say the cost. Definitely, the cost is different when we do work in US, and the cost is different when we do work the same work in Europe or in the Middle East or in the East Asia. So this is one of the barrier, and for that we definitely try to understand what are the different hourly rates and also contracts that other companies are doing in those countries before expanding ourselves into those areas. So when we say we are experienced in US market, that doesn't make us experts in European market. Things are different. The understanding of BIM and also the understanding of construction is completely different. The laws are different. So these are the case studies that we keep on doing. The contracts we keep on revising, and within the contracts also there are risks involved. We do develop a risk management team. So initially when we are working, we didn't realize that we need to have a risk team to understand the contracting language and need to be more diligent in signing a contract, because I'm one of the contract signer in VConstruct, and later on we understood the importance of contract.
Uh, One more question related to this only. Uh, you have talked about costs. So globally on in different geographies, costs do matter, and you have to align it with your input cost in the company. Uh, at the end, it has to be profitable and sustainable as well. Now, what are your strategies when you find that looking for cheap manpower, and if the cost is not actually equalizing to the input and the output cost is not equalizing. So how do you look for cheap manpower in other countries apart from India?
Yes, so we don't look for cheap manpower, we look for quality team. We really don't look for areas where they completely negotiate to work, get the work at cheap price. We generally don't take up those projects because they are in freelancers who just do work for $5 an hour. There are teams who do projects at $10 an hour. So we really don't go to that level because we do have our base expenses. When we say organization, we are not a freelancer. We have an office to set up, and we have teams or employees from different reputed institutes. So we have people from NICMAR, MET, IITs, NITs. So we have people all across the top institutes of India. So we don't want to pay them peanuts, right? They don't want to work in those kind of environment. And if we are paying them more, we can't sustain our business if we are doing work for less.
So should I understand that at times you have to leave the projects because of
Yes.
the cost viability?
Yes.
And it is actually like a very thin line, hairline kind of decision where your expansions are actually they are on the different side of like leaving the project. So it's a tough competition in the market.
Yes. So when we say
Should I
tough
take it this
competition,
way?
yes, it is definitely a tough competition in the market. Definitely when we are trying to expand in a complete new country where we don't have any presence, where we don't have success stories to share with the clients. So in those areas, we do bring our experience from other country where we have success stories, and we also share them the cost analysis and how it really varies from a different organization and what value it brings onto the table. So when a client understands the value that bringing onto the table and the expertise that you have, your past experience, rich experience. So I don't see that cost is a challenge in many conversations unless they really have tight budgets and they never planned BIM or some other service in their initial budget planning of the project.
Okay. So one thing which comes to my mind is that uh, as a core value of your company, what do you stick more to? One is that getting high profitability from less number of projects,
Mhm.
or getting high profitability by having high number of projects with low margins. What is your strategy for that?
So we go by quality and not quantity. So that is a definite strategy, and we don't try to feed in more projects on each individual. We have large teams, and we keep project specific people so that they enjoy while they work and they have a complete thorough knowledge of what they are doing.
So that passion actually is there from top to down to the
Yes,
last employee of the company, which
right.
is actually the core strength, I believe.
So we definitely don't follow the hierarchy approach in our organization. We don't have cabins. We just share our desk, and anyone is easily approachable. So even an intern can directly go to the company director or general manager and ask whatever question they have, even if it is as simple as can they take a leave tomorrow. They don't need to go to a director, but if they go, no one thinks anything wrong about it. So it is a flat organization and the kind of work culture. So you sometimes can see a director or a GM playing table tennis with a new rookie or an intern. So it is of that culture. We really believe in
Great,
having the equality and not having the bossy kind of a style. And definitely
great, great.
there were times as I'm part of the initial journey as well. I have seen our director or GM sitting and working with us on projects when there is resource crunch. So there were those days, and that made us realize that we need to have more people upfront to um, assign for projects that are unplanned or ad hoc projects. So those are the kind of learnings we went through throughout the journey. And if your superior or if
Great.
your manager is not working with you, and if he or she is not technically sound, then you don't feel that respect to them, right?
Okay, over to you, Prerna. If there are more questions from the participants, you can please ask.
Yes, sir, I can see a few more questions. One of the participant has asked, can you please detail about incongruity?
Sure. So when we say incongruity, the best example that I have taken is Facebook. So there is Procore even before Facebook acquiring it. But Procore is one of the construction management platforms similar to CMIC and other platforms where we track the issues of a project or where we track the status of a project and throughout the RFI submittals or other stuff. So they found it, but they didn't feel it the way they want it on their Facebook projects or data centers or campus that they want to build for themselves. So they acquired Procore. Acquiring an existing company and making those changes that they want and launching it or rebranding it as a completely efficient model so that other general contractors and construction companies use Procore for their projects as well. So that is the kind of integrity model where you see a gap in existing uh, successful projects. They might not be a failure. They're also successful, but you think that they can be a lot beyond that. So MySpace, Yahoo, all these were like way beyond Facebook, but still Facebook started on its own by identifying those gaps on what a MySpace should have been or a Yahoo should have been. And they're now the leading social media platform.
I hope your question is being answered. There is one more question, sir. What is your take on having a change in mission or vision from the start of the journey towards the later?
So it keeps on evolving, updating, but um, it directly don't change its path. That's how I see it. It evolves. It definitely evolves. We do have short-term mission and long-term vision for we consider we do have a 2030 vision that we set up in 2015 or 16, and we are still working towards it. We break it into different pieces and work towards the goal, 2030 goal, but I would say we don't change the goal all of a sudden.
Okay, I hope your question is being answered. So this brings us to the end of this session. Thank you, sir. That was indeed
Thank
a
you.
wonderful session. I'm sure the participants will be benefited in many ways